Congressman, welcome back to the program here. The House Homeland Security Committee, on which you sit, has voted to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. This now goes to the full House. Do you expect every single Republican to support this? Because that's what's going to be needed, as you know, to get an impeachment.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close margins. I don't know if every Republican will vote for it, but I do know it is long past time that we hold the administration accountable. Earlier this week, I sit on the Homeland Security Committee. We had a 16-hour impeachment slumber party, and we voted along party lines to impeach Secretary Mayorkas. And you know what? Whether you agree with that or not, it is very evident that whatever the administration is doing on the border is not working. Over 300,000 people coming over illegally in December. So a change needs to happen, whether it's impeachment, resign, a new DHS secretary, something has to change.
Democrats obviously oppose the impeachment, and they say this doesn't rise to high crimes and misdemeanors of impeachment. What law did Mayorkas break in order to get this?
I'm no lawyer, but I think he broke all of them. It's very clear that Americans are dying in more ways than one. In my district in particular, we had the Tambunga family that were killed with these high-speed chases. Americans don't feel safe. Damage to property. I mean, it's very systematic in many different cases. So it's very clear that he is. We impeached him this week on the Homeland Security, and I fully expect next week we will have a vote on the House floor, and the House Republicans will impeach Secretary Mayorkas.
But what do you say to those folks who say, "Listen, failure to do your job, it doesn't rise up to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors"?
I'd say try sitting across from a family that has lost their mother and their 7-year-old daughter. I'd say try sitting across from a family that has had a loved one die of fentanyl. Over 300 people on the terrorist watch list. We see what happened on October 7th in Israel. We're seeing what happened in Jordan, where 3 Americans were killed. This reminds me, Jason, a lot of pre-9/11, when no one knew who Al-Qaeda was, when they were bombing the USS Cole, when they were bombing our embassies in Africa, and then all of a sudden 3,000 Americans were killed. So yes, it is a long time that the House Republicans hold this administration accountable, and step one is impeaching Mayorkas, which I expect us to do next week.
Do you think the impeachment will actually happen? There'll be enough votes at the end of the day?
I do. I mean, if you want to defend Secretary Mayorkas and you want to run on that, good luck. That's not the hill to die on.
Let's talk about the bipartisan deal to fund the border here. The Senate's been working on this thing. We're hearing the members of the House saying it's dead on arrival over there. How do you plan to vote on this?
I've heard for about 3 weeks now, the text is going to be out any day. And I keep looking in the mailbox for that check in the mail, and it still hasn't gotten here. I have waited. I want to see the text, because the devil's in the details. I did speak this week with Senator Lankford. I did speak this week with Senator Sinema. I speak with the senators on a regular basis. I think they're still working through some of the issues on their side. But, I want to see the text. I want to find out what's in there. And I also say this, we have to keep America safe. We can't, doing nothing is not an option. Doing something just to say we did something is also not an option. There has to be some meaningful changes in there, and I look forward to working with my colleagues in order to make sure America is safe.
Of course, the devil will be in the details. Let me ask you about something that has been talked about. As part of this bipartisan deal, President Biden has said that he's offering a mechanism to let the president shut down the border if it gets overwhelmed, over 5,000 people per day. Donald Trump threatened to do the same thing, but we're hearing some Republicans say, listen, we don't even want that right now.
I think it's a wrong approach for the president to just focus on the illegal crossings. He's missing the point here. The illegal crossings should be zero, and he should be focusing on what about legal crossings? What about people that are trying to legally come over for work visas, trying to legally, flee religious and political persecution? There's no talk of that, Jason. It's all about what is the number of people that is acceptable to come over legally. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 20? That's the wrong approach. So the answer should be zero. And the answer should be, what can you do to encourage people to come through the legal routes?
Donald Trump, as you know, is telling House Republicans to reject this bipartisan deal if it ever gets finalized here. It's going to obviously, it could be a solution to an issue that he and Republicans have complained about publicly for a long time. What's your reaction to what Trump is telling some House Republicans?
I think President Trump's onto something as far as saying, hey, look, when he was the president, he didn't have Congress pass any immigration bill. When President Obama was in Congress, there was no immigration bill. When President Bush, when President Clinton. So I think he's getting to the point of the president, when he's right, President Biden today has the tools he needs to be successful. I do, however, believe Congress does have a role and can be helpful in making sure the president does its job. Right? When you talk about funding, president right now is asking for $14 billion for supplemental. Of that 14 billion, only 2 billion is going towards security. The other 12 is going towards more processing and more encouraging of this. This is where, once again, the devil's in the details. I'm of the mindset we need to set the politics aside, and America needs a win. And that win needs to make sure that we are safe from any terrorist threat that is brewing.
We've heard you and other Republicans say that President Biden needs to enforce the laws on the books right now. What laws on the books right now would slow this massive number of people coming across the border? What specific laws are there?
Deportation for those that do not qualify for asylum. I'm talking about you got your day in court, you did not qualify. What's the next step? The next step is sending you back to your country of origin. That is the secret sauce. That is what the president has to do. And you know what, Jason? They've done that previously. The Haitians under the bridge in Del Rio, thousands of Haitians, and then all of a sudden that went away. Well, the reason that went away is because they started deporting Haitians back to Haiti that did not qualify for asylum. That's what the president has to do, not deport by the dozens, deport by the thousands, those that have already had their cases adjudicated.
So he needs to do more of that then.
That's it. That's it. That's all he has to do. And you know what? I'm all in to give him more money for ICE deportation flights that can expedite that removal process.
I want to ask about something you said the other day to an interviewer in San Antonio. You mentioned something about how, heck, let me find it here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. You said the other day to an interviewer in San Antonio that migrants who come across are gobbling up city resources, use of the airport, et cetera, down there. How much is San Antonio spending on undocumented immigrants?
Millions. And the fact is you cannot get reimbursed fast enough, and you'll never get reimbursed totally. So it is always coming in the military. We call it coming out of hide, meaning it's coming out of your operational budget. It's coming out of your taxpayer base. And look, San Antonio, Texans across the board, we are a warm, welcoming state. Immigration, legal or otherwise, is not new to us, but we cannot handle, just like any other city and state, cannot handle the sheer influx of people coming over that need access to resources. And we're talking about Texas, but Denver's in the news, Chicago's in the news. Soon it's going to be LA, Pittsburgh, Boston. There is no end in sight, Jason. And this is where I think there's an opportunity, if we can cut through the politics, to just go, hey, what can we do that can, legally encourage people to come over and get people their adjudication in court, and those that do not qualify for asylum, we deport them. We do those kind of three things, and all of a sudden this crisis is under control.
Congress, as you know, must address government funding in less than a month here, the 1st of March. Some Republicans are saying shut down the border or shut down the government. What do you think?
I have voted 3 times against a continuing resolution, and I will vote again against a continuing resolution unless there's meaningful border security solutions in there. What I'd much rather see is I'd much rather vote for the appropriations bills that we pass. I sit on the appropriations committee. There's a lot of conservative wins in there. And I do believe we need to fund the government to ensure that those conservative wins get in there. We defund some of these areas like DEI and some of the junk that's currently in the federal government. But that's an important piece to our national security.
So as far as shutting down the government, do you expect that to happen if these, the border isn't included in there, like Speaker Johnson has said?
I sit on the appropriations committee, and one of the things that I'm hearing is we have top line numbers now, and there's more conversation that's being had. That's a good thing. I mean, here we are a month away, if you will, from the deadline, and the bills are starting to get drafted. I always worry when it's a week out and then all of a sudden you're talking for the first time as if you're going to put together this 3,000-page document in a day. So I think March 1st, we'll have to see, but it's very promising that this time around, I think there'll be other options besides a CR or shut the government down. And that option should be passing the House conservative Republican bills that we have already passed through.
Congressman, last question here for you. Texas is making a lot of news right now for ignoring that Supreme Court order to let Border Patrol cut the razor wire along Shelby Park there in Eagle Pass. How do you expect this to end?
It hurts me because the law enforcement officers on the ground, their brothers and sisters, their cousins, we should not be pitting the state versus the federal government. They should be working together to secure this border. But I also think it's a shiny object. If you ever go to Eagle Pass, Shelby Park's about a mile long. You know, the other 100 miles to the left and 100 miles to the right, are much different. So I want to de-escalate the situation. Good leaders de-escalate the situation and find solutions. No more of this whose fault it is. You know whose fault
Are
it
you
is?
are you trying to de-escalate that now?
I am. Yeah. Part of it. Yeah, exactly. Part of it is this. Part of it is how do we get a border security package that actually secures the package over? It's, whose fault is this? It's all of our fault.
Congressman, we always appreciate the time. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jason.